till I got here when all y'all are here. Some of y'all I hadn't even seen. Amy wasn't here when I started. So it's good to be back with you guys today. Today we're going to switch to something new. Remember last lessons with Miss Nadia you were learning plot. Today we're going to switch to a new skill, which is main idea and key details. And we're going to learn a little bit each day this week about main idea, and we're going to work a lot with graphic organizers and learn how to organize our thoughts that we find about main idea and key details. So who can tell me what main idea is? Somebody? Claire?
Like most important thing, or like the most important part of the text.
That's right. Do anybody have anything different? How you would describe main idea? It's about that thing. Right there.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else have any way? Rhiannon? The point of the story? Okay. That's good. The main idea, I like to describe it as the big idea of the story. It's what the story is completely about. Most of the time it's a simple one sentence and you can describe the main idea. What are supporting details, or key details as some people call them? What would you say that is? Rhiannon?
The details that support the main idea.
Okay. Anybody different? Alright, supporting details are what back up your main idea. They provide support to your main idea. This is things that help build on that main idea. So today we're going to watch a video. It's pretty, I don't know, some of y'all I know like to watch TikTok. And I found this video, and it's a main idea rap. And I found this guy on TikTok. He's a teacher who makes rap music. Now, I can't rap. I don't know if any of y'all can, but I can. But I found this, and I thought it was really cool because it tells us things that we can use in a story to learn about main idea. So I want you to pay attention because when it gets done, I'm going to ask you some things about the video. It's not very long. It's like a minute and a half. So we're going to learn a little bit about main idea today through this video, and then we're going to do some real life example stuff for you guys. All right.
Mr. Woodland.
Yeah, let me turn her up because I want to be able to hear it. Can find the main idea, and that's what I want to focus on because I know you guys are 6th graders and you've learned about main idea in every year of school that you've done reading, and I know Miss Nadia's probably taught you main idea in 5th grade, so we're going to build on what you already know about main idea, and we're going to learn how you can use what's given to you in a story to find that main idea easier and quicker, because sometimes we think it's really hard to find the main idea, where if we use what's given to us, it's really an easy thing to do if we use what the passage tells us in those clues that I'm going to show you today. So, who can tell me one thing that you learned from the video of how you can find the main idea? What's something you can use? Bailey?
You have to read the whole paragraph.
Read the whole paragraph. That's a big one. A lot of times people think that they can just scan over the paragraph or maybe even look at just one of these clues that I'm going to show you today and think they have the main idea, but that's not true. You need to read the entire paragraph, passage, whatever you're reading, and then focus back on these clues that I'm going to show you. So where's one specific part of the story that we can look at? Chloe? Okay, the middle of the paragraph. Anybody else have a different one? Claire?
First sentence.
Good job. First sentence. Annie?
The last sentence.
The last sentence. Okay, those are three big ones. Today I'm going to show you an example that I found that I really like because I think that it really opens my eyes to main idea. Who can tell me what this is? A stool. Good job. This is a stool that has, this one has 4 legs. 4 legs on it. And these legs, who can tell me what these legs do for this stool? Support it, okay? They support this stool. So if I sit on it, we're going to hope it doesn't fall, but if it'll support me and hold me up. That's what the legs are for. They keep the stool supported. The same thing is true when you're talking about main idea. If you think about a stool, like we have in our anchor chart, where you sit is your main idea. That's the big thing that you learn about in the story. And the legs are used to support it. They show us how that main idea is right by things we find in the story. So like we said, the main idea is the most important idea about a topic, what the text is mostly about. So if I was to talk about our class in here, I would say the main idea of this class is 6th grade reading. That's the big idea. Y'all are 6th graders and we're learning about reading. That's what this class is about. Now if we went into supporting details, we could put things like, Miss Nadia is your teacher, you're using this textbook, you're learning this today, things that support the main idea. Now, we're going to learn about some clues that can help us figure out the main idea. So on your desk is a pink Post-it note. I want you to take out your pencil, and we're going to write on this Post-it note these key things, so that way this week you can keep that Post-it note out on your desk and look back, because we're going to do a variety of passages and a variety of organizers this week that you're going to use this sticky note to remember those things that you can look at in a story. So, on your sticky note, I want you to write at the top, look for these clues. And these are going to be things that you look back at after we read the passage to determine the main idea. Now some of these things you've already talked about. You've seen them in the video and you mentioned them to me. So the first one, it basically asks you, what is the text mostly about? And this one comes from you reading something. So if you read a passage, what did you mostly read about? What did you think the main idea of the story was just by reading it? So that one is just remembering what you read. The next one is what I want you to write first, and it's the title. And it can also be headings, because some of the things you guys read have short headings located inside the reading, which is like a different section. It's a title for a section. So first you look at the title. So for example, if I was doing this passage right here, I would look at the big title at the top and I would read that. And that would be my first clue as to what I think the main idea is. Now sometimes people get the idea that they can get their paper from their teacher and they can look at it, read the title, and know the main idea. And that's not true, because sometimes the title's different than what the actual main idea is. So number one is the title. Number two is you look at pictures. Now, not all of your guys' stories have pictures, but some of them do. And some of the books you read have pictures. So pictures are a good way to find out the main idea. They show you visual things about what you maybe read about, and they help you lead you to the big idea of what the story is all about. So number one, what can we look at? The title. What's the second thing we can look at? Pictures. All right. The third one that I like, and this one is a big one because a lot of times this is it. You can look at the first or the last sentence. A lot of times, this is exactly where you can find your main idea, because if you read the first sentence, a lot of times that is the main idea because it tells you right then what you're fixing to learn about, what the whole passage is about. So a lot of times you can read the story, get an idea, go right back to that first sentence and be able to figure out the main idea. Also using the last sentence because it's like a wrap-up sentence. It wraps up everything you read into one sentence. And the last one that I really like is repeated words. And this is a big one because if it's the big idea, they're going to talk about it a lot in the story. So repeated words, words that are in the story more than once. This might even be a phrase, a repeated phrase, something they say over and over and over again. So all these are clues that you can use to determine the main idea of a story. Like I said, this gets us the top of our stool. These clues help us figure out what the main idea, the big picture is. Now, the legs are our supporting details. And the supporting details answer a lot of our questions. The who, what, how, when, why. That's what the supporting details do. They answer our questions. So the anchor chart tells us that supporting details tell us how, what, when, where, why, how many, and how much. So, like I said, it answers our questions that we have about main idea. So if we read a passage and we're like, well, why did this happen? We look at the details. That's what tells us why it happened. Who did this happen to? We read the details and it tells us who it happened to. So when you work with main idea, you find your big idea and you find details. Now, a lot of times when you work with main idea, you work to find 3 details. Now, some stories have 4, 5, maybe even more. Most of the time we work to find at least 3 details to support our main idea, because if it's truly our main idea, we won't have trouble finding 3 things that support why it's our main idea. Those should be easy to find because they should tell us exactly how we got to our main idea. So today, we're going to work together to fill out a graphic organizer, because as the week goes, I'm going to continue to teach you guys, and I'm going to start giving you more and more independence on filling out one of these by yourself. So today, we're going to work together. Wednesday, you're going to work in groups to fill out one. I know that's something that's been a little missing because of COVID, but we're going to do a little bit of it. We're going to still stay apart from each other and do it, but we're going to work together in groups to fill out a graphic organizer. And then the last day that I teach you guys, you're going to do independent work so we can truly see how much you guys know about main idea. I'm going to assess what we've learned this week, see how much you obtained of it, and see how far we got into learning main idea and details. So today I'm going to give you, in just a second, I'm going to give you a passage, and it's going to have a passage on one side and it's going to have your main idea organizer on the other side. And I'm also going to give you a highlighter. Now, these highlighters are not to color all over my paper that I'm going to give you, or not to color all over your desk or that Post-it note. We're going to highlight specific things in the story together that we can use to find the main idea. So when I give it to you, don't be coloring on everything. Don't be coloring on yourself. Don't be coloring on your desk. Just keep it closed till we get ready to start. Make sure your name and number and date gets on the top of your paper, and we're going to work on this together, okay? So we're going to group read. I'm going to start reading. I'm going to call on you guys to read. Make sure when you read that you read loud, okay? And make sure when other people are reading, we're respectful of other people, okay? Don't be talking while other people's talking, while I'm talking. That way we can hear everybody. So when I come by, I'm going to give you your paper, and I'm also going to let you grab a highlighter out. It doesn't matter what color, just grab one, and you can use it to complete this with me in just a minute. The sticky note you can keep for the rest of the week and get it out as you need it to use it. This is just a tool to help you remember the clues that we talked about today. Oh, I'm sorry. Get to all of you.
Teachers, again, I'm sorry, but one other thing I thought of, make sure that those students who did not get tested today with that STAR data. That way we can finish that up. Thanks.
Okay, so we are going to read this together. This is a story about preventing cavities, as we can see by the title. I'm going to read a little bit, and then I'm going to call on somebody to read. You can just read a couple sentences, and then we'll call on somebody else, okay? All right. Pay attention to those text features that we talked about. The title, words that are repeated. If you see one, highlight it, okay? Highlight a word if you see it more than once. That first and last sentence. Okay. Preventing cavities. There are many ways you can protect your teeth from cavities. When cavities form, they give bacteria a place to hide while forming a clear coating on your teeth called plaque. A buildup of plaque can build holes in your teeth, so it is important to prevent the plaque from forming. Bailey?
Using floor toothpaste is a good way to prevent cavities. Fluoride is a chemical that hardens your
Enamel.
enamel and makes it hard for acids to bind with your teeth. So water contains
Companies.
companies add fluoride to their water. So drinking water with fluoride in it will also help.
Claire.
Another way you can prevent cavities is to avoid sugary foods and choose sugar-free gum. Bacteria love sugar, and when you eat lots of sugar, they eat too. There are many ways to prevent cavities, but the best way is to brush for 2 minutes, at least 2 times a day, using fluoride toothpaste and a toothbrush.
Leah.
By doing this, you are making sure that you still have your teeth when you are older. It will also give you something to smile about.
All right. Thank you all for reading. So, what is the title? Somebody raise your hand and tell me what the title tells you when you read it, what the main idea you think will be. Tier?
About cavities?
About cavities, okay? Raise your hand if you've ever had a cavity before. I have. I hate having cavities because then that means you have to go to the dentist and have to get that little drill out, and I can't even stand to hear it. It just makes my ears hurt. So cavities are not fun. This preventing. What does the word preventing mean? Bailey?
To stop it from happening.
Stop it from happening. We're going to do something to keep it from happening. So like if the other day I was going out of town and I was going to the car and I fell down a whole set of stairs, y'all. And I got in a hurry. If I would have prevented that, I could have slowed down, but I got in a hurry and I fell down a whole flight of stairs. Like 3 or 4 stairs, concrete stairs outside, and I fell down. So I could have prevented that by slowing down and not being in a hurry. Same thing here. We can prevent cavities by doing different things. So, preventing cavities, we looked at the title. Next, there's one little picture at the top. What is that picture of? Who can tell me what that picture is? Floss and a toothbrush, toothpaste. Those are key things to preventing cavities. You have to brush your teeth. You have to floss your teeth. If you don't do either of those, you're for sure going to get cavities. You're going to get them if you don't, but sometimes you still get them even if you do that. But those are ways to prevent them. What can we look at next? The first sentence. Chloe, will you read that first sentence?
There are many ways you can protect your teeth from cavities.
There are many ways you can protect your teeth from cavities. If you didn't highlight that, I want you to highlight that on your paper. There are many ways you can protect your teeth from cavities. Lucas, will you read the last sentence?
It will also give you something to smile about.
All right, it will also give you something to smile about. Okay, so if we have cavities, that means our teeth are bad. They have something wrong with them. So if we have a bunch of cavities, are we going to want to be smiling in front of people? If we have 1 or 2 in the back or even in the front, you might not be able to see them, but if we don't take care of our teeth and get tons of cavities, we're not going to want to be smiling in front of people because our teeth are going to be in bad shape. So that's the last sentence kind of hints. If we do this, we'll take care of our smile. Are there any repeated words that we hear a lot in this story, Lucas?
Cavities?
Okay, cavities. Are there any more? Leah?
Fluoride.
Fluoride, that's a good one. Do anybody know what fluoride is? Claire?
It says it's a chemical that hardens your tooth. Something.
It's like the chemical that makes your teeth hard, and it'll help them to not get to shrink down and to lose the nutrients. It helps them to stay sharp and to keep them from getting bacteria built up. So when you lose that fluoride in there, your teeth start to deteriorate, which is what a cavity does. It breaks them down. So that's why we have to keep fluoride, to keep the tooth hard and to keep the bacteria out. All right, so we had fluoride and we had cavities. Is there another word we heard a lot, Bailey? Prevent, that's a good one. That's a big one because that's in our title, that's in our story. Chloe? Bacteria. Okay, so any of those words you could put, so we could highlight plaque, cavities, fluoride. Any word that you heard more than once can be considered a repeated word because that's a word that you're using to remember that, hey, I heard that more than one time in my story, so it must be important. It must be something that has meaning to it. Alright, so if we use these clues and focus in a lot on that first sentence, who can tell me what you think the main idea would be? Raise your hand and I'll keep you. Okay? He said how you can prevent from having cavities. That's a good one. You know, a lot of times if the first sentence is correct, you can use that exact first sentence. So our first sentence says, there are many ways you can protect your teeth from cavities. So give me a thumbs up if you think that's a good main idea for our story. I do. I think that's a great one. We learned about different ways you can protect your teeth from cavities. So I want you to write that in your main idea graphic organizer box number 1. I'm going to back mine out a little bit. There are many ways you can protect your teeth from cavities. Alright, so who can tell me what the supporting details do? What did they do for our main idea, Lucas?
Use
Okay.
fluoride toothpaste.
That's a good one. That's a great one. So, in your paragraph it says, using fluoride toothpaste is a good way to prevent cavities. So that right there says, my main idea is about preventing cavities. Well, here's the number one way you can do it. Use fluoride toothpaste. So in your supporting detail, number 1, I want you to put use fluoride toothpaste. You can know if it'll say on the front of the toothpaste tube contains fluoride. So you can go home and look at your toothpaste and see if you're using fluoride toothpaste. Because that's a good way to prevent cavities. It helps to build strong teeth.
Just cold toothpaste like?
Colgate, like, is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Not Colgate, it has cold. Charcoal?
Like the black charcoal toothpaste. You can use that. They have fluoride in them. Okay, what's another one?
Another way you can prevent cavities is to avoid sugary foods and chew sugar.
Okay, so she said that you can avoid sugary foods and chew sugar-free gum. That's a good one. And it actually says that another way, so that should give you a key that that's the second way. So, avoid sugary foods, comma, and chew sugar-free gum. Now, how many of you in here like to eat sugary foods? I do. I have trouble with candy. I love candy, especially gummy candy, and that's not good for your teeth at all. Like I like Sour Patch Kids and gummy bears, and those are not good for your teeth. All that sugar and all that sticky sticking in your teeth, it's not good, but it sure tastes good, but it's not good. And gum is another bad one because gum is full of sugar, And when you constantly chew on it, it's just breaking down your teeth. So they say to do sugar-free gum because it's less sugar being packed into your teeth. Does anybody in here chew sugar-free gum, or do y'all all like the good stuff? Rhiannon does?
What is sugar-free gum?
Just gum with no sugar in it. Sometimes it's sweet, depending on what kind you get, but sometimes it's more of the minty, not as sweet. But sometimes you can't tell the difference in sugar-free and sugared gum. But they suggest for your teeth to chew sugar-free gum. They also say not to drink sodas, but I like sodas too. So that's a hard one. Especially dark sodas, they're not good for your teeth, like Pepsi and Dr. Pepper. They're not good. They change the color. Maybe a little bit, but probably still not good with all that sugar in it. The color will help you out, but the sugar's still bad. Alright, so there's one more supporting detail that's in this story. Talks about how we can personally take care of them. Samuel?
It says there are many ways to prevent cavities, but the best way is to brush for 2 minutes, at least 2 times a day, using fluoride toothpaste and a toothbrush.
Good job. So he said that there's the best way, it says it towards the bottom of your paragraph, but the best way is to brush for 2 minutes, at least 2 times a day. Now, raise your hand if you brush your teeth 2 times a day in here. 2 times a day. Y'all do? I'm pretty proud of y'all. Sometimes I try to. Sometimes I get too sleepy and I fall asleep. But I try. I have good intentions to brush my teeth twice a day.
I barely brush. I don't know about
Lucas said he barely brushes his once, so he's not doing too good over there.
I get too sleepy.
Too sleepy and you can't do it morning or night time. You're too sleepy.
I can't do it. I barely get my facts done. So you don't.
He said only, so he just don't. Alright, so the last supporting detail is to brush for 2 minutes, at least 2 times a day. Now, some people need to practice the 2-minute rule, because sometimes they'll just stick the toothbrush in there, pull it out, and say, I'm good to go. You gotta scrub them, get them clean. So that's what it tells us. To prevent cavities, we have to brush them for a good amount of time, 2 minutes, and do it twice a day so they get extra clean.
It says at least 2 times, so does that mean that people do it like 5 times?
There's some people that brush their teeth, 3 or 4 times a day. Just depends on how much you want to keep your teeth clean. It's all about you. You get to decide that. You might could overbrush them if you could probably overbrush them if you did it a lot, but I don't think 3 or 4 times a day would hurt. I think you would be fine. But that's a good point. Kipton thinks you might could hurt them if you brushed them too many times a day for too long. You'd make your gums sore and could cause you problems. But they suggest 2 times a day for at least 2 minutes each time. So I need to get better at my teeth brushing. I don't know about y'all.
I do like one. Yeah.
What is something that we didn't hear about in this story that you can do? Something that you might think of that's prior knowledge to you about taking care of your teeth. Annie?
To floss.
To floss. Okay, they talked a little bit about that, but not much. There's something else you can do when you brush and floss your teeth. Chloe? Use mouthwash. That's another one. You can use mouthwash.
That stuff got alcohol in it. That stuff
Burn your lips. It does get hot sometimes. Alright, and another one is going to the dentist for cleanings. How many of you raise your hand if you go to the dentist and let them clean your teeth? I do. I go twice a year to the dentist and they clean my teeth with that fancy little electronic toothbrush and they clean them and check them for cavities. So that's another way you can help your teeth stay on track going to the dentist. If you don't go to the dentist for 4 or 5 years, you might have 10 cavities and never know it and they just get worse. Going to the dentist is a way to prevent them because they help you see ones that are maybe real small. They can get rid of them before they cause problems. Or they can show you, hey, you need to do a little bit better brushing and flossing right here or you're going to have cavities. So that's another way you can prevent cavities. So this right here is exactly how you find the main idea. And you guys did great at it. You found the first sentence. You found repeated words. You pulled out those details from the text. So good job on finding those. For today, so I can see how much each one of you know about main idea, I'm going to give you another one of these papers that's a different story, and you're going to be in charge of doing this one by yourself, okay? You're going to highlight the things that we talked about on your paper, and you're going to fill out this exact same one, okay? This is the exact same paper, but just a different story. So we did one together so you guys can see how we do it, so now I want you guys to do one by yourself so I can see how much you actually know about main idea. So for the next 2 lessons I'm going to teach you guys, I can see if there's maybe somewhere we need to go back and hit again, or something that I can do differently to show you guys more about main idea. So when I give you this, make sure your name gets on it. I want you to read it. Don't forget, we cannot just take these features, jump right in, and think we're good to go. Read the passage, highlight the repeated words, look at the title, look at that first and last sentence, figure it out, and then fill this out. When you finish, turn it over on your desk, quietly read your library book, okay? You can put your other one in your reading folder. That's going to be one for you guys to keep, since I'm going to take this one up. Miss Nadia will get it later. If you have any makeup work, Miss Nadia's going to get it before you guys leave. So just hold on to it. She'll get it before you leave. Don't forget to highlight, using your highlighter, those important text features. You can start. If you need help, just raise your hand and I'll come help you.
Miss Jeffries, call the office, please.
Detergents, like what you wash your clothes with. Don't forget those clues. First sentence, last sentence, repeated words. Maybe that picture at the top. can also reword these a little bit. You don't have to write the full long sentence. If you can take out a little bit of it, that's fine, as long as you get the main idea, or if you maybe get the main part of the detail. You don't have to write. Captain asked if he can put 2 sentences together. Yes, that's fine, just as long as you get a good supporting detail that supports your main idea. When you're finished, don't forget library book.
She has a class, but she needed to like make it super quick, so you don't miss. Colt's gonna go over about that next, so like 5 minutes.
Okay, we'll wait and see if he gets some time. If he does, then I'll let you go get them. When Chloe gets back. Don't forget, when looking for supporting details, you can use words that start with first, second, another way. Things that lead you to know that's a step in it or part of the process. Okay. Wait till we finish vocab and then I'll let you type that script. Okay. When he comes back, we'll send you, since you don't even have a book. You could even do this for 15 seconds. Rub your hands front and back. You can do any of those steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, any of those would work as a detail. That's fine, you can leave it. That's something you used. Finish your library book, just sit there quietly. We're gonna go over vocab when everybody gets done. At the end of class, if we have time, we'll get you guys to the library you need to go.
Can I finish?
Haley gets back, she's going after Chloe. Do you have You're finished, library book quietly. Maybe you have some makeup work you can work on quietly on your desk. After everybody finishes, we're gonna go over your vocab for the week. Make sure you know what those words mean so you can be studying for your test on Friday. So if you're finished, library book, makeup work, sitting there quietly, finishing up. You can, you don't have to. If you used them, you can. If you didn't, that's fine. Whatever you needed to use to find the main idea. Make sure you got your name on your paper up at the top. You're finished, you can make sure that preventing cavities gets in your reading folder. Just hold on to that one. That one's yours for the rest of the week. Remember, if you're finished, library book, makeup work, sit there quietly. We're going to go to vocab in just a few minutes. get out your newsletter and lay it on your desk too, because we're gonna go over your vocab newsletter for this week.
Should have been on her desk in the further in this one. Yeah, but I think it's for week 3. No question? She said you were doing this week.
Just be studying a couple days and we'll do it.
Rose,
No question? Get back and figure out what's going on in the program.
this will be the newsletter that was on your desk this morning in Miss Crow's room. For you that have makeup work, you probably have another one in your makeup work, but this is the one that was on your desk this morning, week 3. That'll be this week's words. Make sure you study the right ones, don't get the newsletters mixed up. So week 3. It's not as pulling up the vocab, so just have your newsletter out, read your library book quietly. Did I get everybody's Jeremy paper, Jeremy situations paper? Make sure preventing cavities goes in your reading folder. This post-it note on your desk is yours to keep for the whole week, so you can choose where you want to put that. If you want to stick it on the front of the cavities paper, or if you want to do whatever with it, that's up to you. So put it in the binder pocket, put it on the front of the paper. Just don't leave it in here because it'll probably get ripped off in the floor, thrown away. So you keep that post-it note on whatever you want to do with it, but it's yours to reference to all week. So you can pull it out tomorrow when we start doing graphic organizers. Use it to keep on going. vocab words for this week. This will be the first time y'all had a vocab test in like almost 2.5 weeks. It's been a little crazy in here, so this week we'll get back to the routine of testing. Keep preventing cavities. If you want to stick that post-it note on the front of that one, that's fine. You'll know where it is tomorrow. If you want to just stick it in your binder pocket, that's fine. It's for you to use as a tool the rest of the week as we build on main idea. Make sure you have your newsletter out on your desk. Unit 1, week 3. Make sure you have the right one out. Some of you guys that's been out, you probably have a couple in your binder, so make sure that you don't have them mixed up. Alright, so the first word, who can tell me what that word is? Raise your hand, Kipton. Classification, that's how you say that, classification. Alright, so classification of grocery items by category makes them easier to find. And then the definition is the act of sorting things into groups. So you classify things, you separate them out with how they go. What this means is when you go to Walmart, you might go down the bread aisle, but the bread is classified by the different types of bread, the different brands of bread. You can see that without even looking by the color, how things change in color. They're separated and organized with what goes where, but they're classified. The same thing is true of animals. When you learn about science and you learn about the levels of classification, you learn that some animals are classified with this group, some are classified with this group. It's how you sort things. So classification is the act of sorting things into groups. Some of you probably do that with your Pokemon cards. You classify them into different things. I don't know nothing about Pokemon, but some people know a lot about it. But you separate them into different groups. Okay? Alright, now let's see. Next is compartment. That is a section or a spot. You might have, like on the bottom of your desk, that's a basket or a compartment. It's a place where you can store things. When I think of compartment, I think about an airplane when they put your stuff up in the compartment up top. It's a place where they store, stick stuff. A separate section is what the definition is. It's a different part. It's its own piece. So a compartment. Maybe in a purse. Some of you girls probably have purses. They have compartments, different pockets that zip. Leah looked around. She said she don't got no purse. It has different parts. You can zip them, button them, whatever. Alright, next. Who can tell me what that next word is? That's kind of a funny looking word. Gage?
Engulfs.
Engulfs. Okay, that's a mouthful if you're not careful. Engulfs. That, who can tell me what that means to you when you hear engulfs, Rhiannon?
Like something engulfed.
Okay, kind of taking over, taking control of. I think of fire. My dad likes to burn stuff, so when something's engulfed in fire, it's covered in it. It's burning up good. It's a big fire, completely covered, engulfed. So the definition is to completely surround something or take it over. So this.
Engulfs. When something engulfs a person or object, it completely surrounds it or takes it over.
So what is engulfing that picture? The fog. It's taking over the bridge. You can barely see parts of the bridge because the fog is engulfing it. So it says to completely surround something or take it over. Engulf.
Would that not be hard to drive in?
Yeah, it would be hard to drive in that kind of fog. Alright, number 4 is flanked. And this means to be placed or positioned on either side of something or someone. So this says that cheering fans flanked the road as the marathon runner ran past. So that means that they were on both sides of the road. They were positioned on either side of something or someone. So in here, for example, Cade, he is flanked by his classmates because he has a classmate that is positioned on each side of him. There's Kipton on this side and there's Blade on this side. He's in the middle of two things that are positioned on the outside. Number 5 is, who can tell me how you say that word? Claire? Maneuvering. Maneuvering means guiding or moving something's position with skill. So if you maneuver something, this one says maneuvering his bicycle up the twisting and rocky path was easy for him. So he was having to control where his bike went, maneuver it, because if he didn't, he would go off the edge. It was a twisty path. He had to maneuver it, keeping it where it needed to be so it would stay where it needs to go. Some of you play video games. You have to maneuver certain things in your video game. If you have a certain person you want to maneuver, you move them. You turn them, you keep them where they need to be so they don't get killed in Fortnite or they don't, do whatever. You keep them where they need to be. You guide them and you do it with skill because you know there's a certain way you have to do it or it's not going to end like you want it to. Some of you have to, Lucas, do you ever drive like a tractor or anything? So you have to maneuver that in the right way, don't you? Or you'll wreck it, turn it over, hit something. You have to maneuver it with the correct skill in the right way. Alright, number 6 is, does anybody know, Gabe?
Obscure.
Gage, sorry. Obscure? Yes, that's right, obscure. Does anybody know What obscure means, just to think about it in your real life, something that's obscure. Rhiannon?
Well, like if something's blocking it.
Okay, so what's an example of that in life?
Like if my dad steps between me.
Okay, so she said like if her dad stands between her and her sister. That's true. He's blocking the view of something. You can think about this picture says that Earth's shadow will obscure the moon during the eclipse. So when the planets line up a certain way, the shadow from Earth covers half of the moon. It obscures it, makes it where you can't see half of the moon. Same thing is true when you're in here, like she said. Someone steps in front of you, they obscure your view. They block you from seeing something that you're trying to see on the other side. Like if you're traveling, you have to pay attention that your view is not obscured so you don't hit somebody on the road. Alright, number 7. Lucas, what is that word? Species. This is a group of related things living with very similar characteristics. So dogs are among the most popular species that people keep as pets. So this is where we go back to classifying animals. If you ever learned in science class, there's like phylums, genes, species, groups, families, different things. Species are dogs, that's a species. There's a lot of different things involved in dogs, a lot of different kinds, sizes, colors, but overall the group of dogs is a species. It's a group that's related because they have similar characteristics. So we are humans, we're a species because we all have similar characteristics, but if you break it down, we're all unique in our own way. So it's a group that shares similar things. Alright, and the last one is submerged, and that means covered with water. So if it's covered in water, if it's submerged, it's full. Like if you think of a sponge, you push it in the water, it's submerged with water. It's full, covered completely in water. It does, it gets submerged under the water, but because of technology it doesn't go in the submarine, but it is submerged. It's completely underwater, very deep in the ocean. So a scuba diver explored the submerged shipwreck. So what this is a boat that sunk, that's at the very bottom of the ocean, that's submerged in water completely. They dove down and looked into it, but a submarine is submerged in water because it's all the way at the bottom. So you can think about when you go all the way to the bottom of the swimming pool, you're submerged in water. You're completely covered in water because you're all the way underneath. Okay? Does anybody have any questions about these vocab words? Anything you didn't understand? Another one we need to go over one more time. These are pretty easy if you study them. There's not many of them that are similar. So if you can study them, you should be able to do real good on this vocab test. Don't forget to study. You have a test Friday. I know that's not normal for the last 2 weeks, but you will have one this Friday, Ms. Nade said. So we're going to go over them every day. And we're also going to learn a little bit more about main idea every day. So what do we need to do? Workbook.
The workbook, and then if they get finished, they can read that story in the little book that will use their vocabulary and also main idea.
Okay, so Ms. Nade said for you to get your workbook out. In your workbook is your vocabulary practice sheet. I'll have to look at what page. Alright, page 21. 21 is your vocab practice page. So work on that. When you finish, leave it in your workbook. When you finish, there's a story in your little book for you to read. The Secret World of Caves. When you finish, just raise your hand and I'll tell you what page, or I'll write it up under the Elmo for you. So page 21 in your workbook. Practicing those vocab words that we just went over. While you do that, I'm going to come around and get you to put your highlighter back in the basket because I'll need it for next 3 but 6 grades. Don't forget good. If you don't know them, use that newsletter. It's the first day you've been introduced to these words. Don't just guess. It's right there to help you.
Put something like the science teacher used classification in her classroom, used classification to group students. Anything like that would work.